Okay, picture this. World War II is finally over. The planet is just starting to heal, to rebuild. And what does the United States do? It launches one of the biggest naval operations in its history, not to some hotspot, but to the coldest, most remote place on Earth, Antarctica. This is the truly bizarre story of Operation Highjump. And when I say big, I mean big. We're talking 4,700 men. Now, this wasn't some small group of scientists going to check on penguins. No, this was a full-blown military armada, an aircraft carrier, destroyers, thousands of Marines, all sent to the ice at the very bottom of the world. You gotta ask, what on earth could justify a force that huge? And that right there, that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? The whole world is craving peace, and you're diverting this massive amount of resources to stage what looks like an invasion of a frozen wasteland. Now, the official story gives us one answer, but as you're about to see, the real story might be a whole lot stranger. All right, so first, let's just stick to the facts. Let's look at what the declassified military records actually tell us. This is the official version, the one you'd find in a history book. It's the logical, straightforward, government-sanctioned narrative of what went down. So, officially, the mission was called the U.S. Navy Antarctic Developments Program, but everyone knows it by its much cooler name, Operation Highjump. It was commanded by a total legend in polar exploration, Admiral Richard E. Byrd. And on paper, it was just a massive training and science exercise. Simple as that. The official to-do list seems pretty standard for a superpower at the dawn of the Cold War. Test your gear in the cold, train your guys, plant some flags to claim land, figure out how to build stuff on the ice. It all sounds pretty reasonable, right? But was that really the whole story? Well, that's when you look at the sheer size of this thing. Task Force 68. We're talking 13 ships, including a full-sized aircraft carrier, the USS Philippine Sea. Almost 5,000 men. Do you really need all of that just to test some parkas and practice building an igloo? I mean, come on. The numbers alone kind of make you scratch your head. Okay, so to really get into the unofficial story, the one they don't teach you in school, we need to rewind the clock a few years. Because it turns out the United States wasn't the only country with a deep, deep interest in Antarctica. Another far more sinister power had staked a claim there just before the war broke out. Germany's obsession with Antarctica goes way back. They'd been sending ships down there for decades. But look at that last entry. Yeah, 1938. Right on the brink of World War II, the Nazi regime launched its own very ambitious expedition to the South Pole. And let's be clear, this was no simple science trip. They mapped a massive chunk of the continent, an area bigger than Germany itself, and they named it Neuschwabenland. And just to make sure everyone got the message, their planes dropped thousands of metal darts with swastikas on them all over the ice. It was a hugely aggressive move. And here is where things get really, really weird. Guess who was the guest of honor at the big send-off party for that Nazi expedition in Hamburg? Yep, the same guy who would later lead the American invasion force, Admiral Byrd. He was there, he knew these guys, and he knew exactly what they were up to. So fast forward a few years, Byrd's massive fleet, Operation Highjump, finally arrives in Antarctica. But things, well, they did not go according to plan. Not at all. The entire mission, which was supposed to last for the better part of a year, just completely fell apart with shocking speed. They had supplies and plans for a 6 to 8 month mission. They were ready to dig in for the brutal Antarctic winter. But instead, they turned tail and ran after just 8 weeks. 8 weeks! Why would you do that? Why the sudden, desperate retreat? The official reports kind of gloss over this part, but the mission was a disaster. People died. Several planes were lost in mysterious crashes. For an operation that was just about training, they took some very heavy, very real losses. Some people who were there even called it a catastrophic failure. Now, this is the kicker. When Admiral Byrd got back, he supposedly gave an interview to a Chilean newspaper. And in that interview, he gave this bone-chilling warning. He said it was now necessary for the U.S. to defend against enemy air fighters from the polar regions that could fly from pole to pole at incredible speeds. I'm sorry, enemy fighters? In Antarctica? And that, my friends, is our doorway into the alternative theory. This is where the story takes a sharp turn away from the history books and into a wild tale of secret bases, super advanced technology, and a hidden war fought at the end of the world. So what was it?
Was Operation Highjump really just a training mission that had some bad luck, or was its true purpose something far darker? The alternative theory says it was an invasion force sent on a covert mission to find and wipe out a secret, heavily fortified Nazi base. So the theory goes something like this. The Nazis used that 1938 expedition to scout a location for a top-secret fortress, maybe called Base 211 or New Berlin. Then, right as Germany was collapsing, they shuttled their best scientists and their most advanced secret weapons there via U-boat. Operation Highjump was sent to destroy it, but they ran into something they couldn't handle. Super advanced aircraft that sent them packing.
Now, the people who believe this theory point to some pretty interesting breadcrumbs. For instance, 2 German U-boats, U-530 and U-977, mysteriously surrendered in Argentina months after the war was over. Their logs were completely blank? Did they make a stop in Antarctica first? And what happened to the more than 100 German U-boats from the war that are still, to this day, completely unaccounted for? So at the end of the day, we're left with 2 stories that just can't both be true. One is a story of a routine military drill. The other is a secret battle straight out of science fiction. And the real truth? Well, it's still buried under miles and miles of solid ice. This table really lays it all out, doesn't it? The official report says the goal was science, the result was a success, and the only enemy was the weather. The alternative theory says the goal was war, the result was a crushing defeat, and the enemy was, well, something else entirely. And then there's this one last fascinating little fact. Just a decade after this whole messy, mysterious operation, all the world's superpowers got together and signed the Antarctic Treaty. It basically declared the entire continent a military-free zone. Forever. Was that just a coincidence? Or was there something down there they all agreed was better left alone?
So was Operation Highjump just a simple training mission that got beaten up by the brutal Antarctic weather? Or was Admiral Byrd's mighty armada turned back by a hidden enemy armed with unbelievable technology? The official records are sealed, the people who were there are gone, and we're left with this one haunting question that still echoes from that frozen continent. What really happened down there on the ice?